Welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we've reached the end of Season 1 of ReZero Avatar Lost. What if Aang was in ReZero? Season 1, Part 6, the Season 1 finale. When we always get to a point like this, I want to take the time to say thank you to everyone who has supported this series and have been following along from the very beginning. Next week, we are going to be getting into Season 2 and everything that comes along with it, so I do hope that you'll stick around for that and everything else that we have to offer going forward here in PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. But no point in delaying any further, we're going to get straight into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The sound and the cry of battle rung all throughout the forest. Aang, along with as many spirits as he could summon and use under his control, fighting alone against the might of the witches' cult. For Aang, he didn't expect any backup to arrive. He knew that he was the only thing standing between the innocent civilians and a gruesome, horrifying death. For Aang, he had to steel his resolve. He was not one for killing. He did not relish the battle that he was in. He did not take delight in the lives that were taken. But there was an understanding that it was either the lives of these individuals or the lives of the people. Knowing this and knowing the risks that were involved, Aang would harden his heart and fought with every fiber of his being. The witch cultists for the most part fell down with ease, not being able to withstand the power of the wind spirits that slashed at them, or Aang, who used enough force to crush them under the pressure of his wind. There was only one that was able to match him. You dare speak blasphemously of her love, the love that makes us all tremble. You have ruined everything, and now you will die. The leader of the witch cult is Bellicuse, using the power of the unseen hands, raining down multiple strikes upon Aang as he dodged every single one of them. How are you able to avoid me? Tell me, Satella, how can this be? Your unseen hands don't really work when I can see them now, can I? What? You can see them? You can see the hands! Bellicuse bit down on his fingers, blood curling down his chin as he writhed and moved unorganically. The way he moved, it was like he wasn't even human at all. It was like he was this thing possessed. The unseen hands continuing their attack upon Aang as the numbers of the witch cultists fell more and more. Unknowingly to Aang, the number of the cultists that fell meant that the number of the backup hosts that Bellicuse had were also killed in the process as they lied in wait throughout the forest. In the meanwhile, Rem had arrived to the village along with meeting with the other villagers, along with the likes of heading to the mansion to meet with her sister to explain the situation. This was definitely last minute, but it was thanks to Aang's genius that they had managed to have the time that they needed. They had been given 2 hours. 2 hours they couldn't have had originally. This, however, almost did not go to plan. A member of the villagers had secretly been working with the witch cultists, and he would have gotten away with it if he hadn't been spotted by Rem. Rem being around Aang for so long, she had gotten used to the witch's scent. She could sense it with ease. Moving amongst the villagers, she was able to find one that stood out amongst the rest, catching him as he tried to use a meteor to call for backup, although the only thing he found was his head being crushed in by a mason chain. With that, another dilemma had reached them. Where were they going to take the villagers? Even if they moved at their top speed, they couldn't get everyone in one area. They would have to be split in half, with one group going one way and the other one going the other. Rom decided that the best thing they could do in that moment was to take half of the villagers to the sanctuary. Roswald had already been there and was making preparations. For what, they didn't know, but now wasn't the time to question things. Rom would lead one half of the villagers to the sanctuary, while Rem would lead the other half to the capital. Given the timeline of events that she had been told by Aang, she'd have just one day to make it there before nightfall. If she didn't, then it was going to result in them being caught up by the white whale, which was another issue of a matter. Aang in the meantime fought against the witch cultists, striking down almost all of their numbers until only he and Betelgeuse remained. Aang feeling a distinct anger wash over him in that moment. The anger of remembering everything that he had gone through, of everything he had been put through by these people. Even still, Betelgeuse would not give up his assault, even as Aang tried to spare his life, resulting in the leader of the cultists being struck down. Believing he had won, Aang would move to regroup with the others. He managed to find Emilia and Rem, as they had been taking the group of villagers with them. When he asked where everyone was, Rem would explain that Rom had taken one half to the sanctuary. What the sanctuary was, Aang didn't know, but knowing that they were safe was all that mattered. And, to their delight, he had managed to take down the cultists. At least, that's what he thought. The journey for the group moving to the capital lasted well into the night itself. Aang knew that they would only have less than a day before the white whale would come through their path. It meant they couldn't afford to stop, and they couldn't afford to take a break. They couldn't afford to rest. They had to keep moving forward. It was the only way for them. The caravan would move as swiftly as they could, with Aang keeping watch. Before long, they had managed to arrive near Fugel's tree. As they did so, there was a sight before them that Aang was not expecting. It was a member of the royal candidacy, Cruce, along with Felix, as well as Wilhelm, the sword master, Julius, and among others. The caravan slowly stopped as Aang and Emilia and Rem would greet Cruce. Cruce would explain the information she had been given by Wilhelm. Of course, she wasn't sure if she could actually believe what was going on, but her sources had indicated that what Aang had said was true. Also, there was a great deal of respect for Miss Emilia. Since Aang was actually recognized as her guardian or knight, if you want to call it that, seeing how he was able to effectively keep her territory safe from the witches' cult was something to be admired. Because of this, it earned her their respects, and they were actually willing to listen regarding the information about the white whale. I didn't even know much of this myself, Emilia would say. Truly, I don't know if I can receive any praise. Yes, but he who serves under you, he is your representative. As such, it's only natural that I should give you credit, Cruce would add in. But given the information about the white whale, I figured that the best way to repay you is to help escort your people to the capital. A small battalion of her guards would move in to take over the caravan duty, as they were going to be the ones that would escort them safely back to the capital, while the rest would stay to fight. Of course, if you wish not to fight as well, Miss Emilia, then we completely understand regarding the matter. No, I would never do such a thing. It's okay, Aang would say. You should move on ahead. No, this is my territory. I should be able to defend it just as well as with anyone else. I see. Then shall we take it down together then, Miss Emilia? Cruce would offer her hand to Emilia, who would take it in kind. This effort would be seen as a joint effort between the camp of Emilia and the camp of Cruce. Together, they, along with the allies that they had acquired, would take down the white whale. Aang stood on guard and waited as it approached. However, there was an uneasy feeling. That being because something else was coming. Something that wasn't natural at all. To many, it appeared to be nothing but a floating corpse, but to Aang, he saw it clear as day. An amalgamation of the unseen hands. It was Betelgeuse. He was still alive. At that same moment, the sound of the white whale echoed over on top of them. What were they going to do? Aang would tell them to focus on the whale while he would switch over to Betelgeuse, pushing him away with his airbending as he roared in anger. He couldn't believe that he was coming back, now of all times. Betelgeuse only bellowed. He bellowed about the love, stating that only he could feel the love and the warmth of Satella, and that all others were just pale imitators, imposters. They could never feel the love that he felt. But for Aang, the only thing that he could feel within himself was a deep-seated rage. How could this thing ever love the witch? The one that had cursed him, that had stuck him in this situation. That wasn't love. None of this was. And yet he was too blind to see it. For Aang in that moment, the only thing that mattered was keeping the others safe. Aang would deal with Betelgeuse while the others would turn their attention to dealing with the white whale. Unlike in the original timeline, the number of the forces of the army that they had at their disposal would not be quite as large as in the original, as this was last minute. At best, they were able to hold off the white whale and deal some damage until it used its illusions to create two more. Things were closing in on Aang all around him. He knew that he had to do something, otherwise it would be the end of everyone. As he heard for both Rem and Amelia, as they had seemed to be in harm's way, the overwhelming pressure that was mounting around him forced him to change. A glow would shine through the battlefield, Aang hovering in the air above all. Both Amelia and Rem looked up to the skies to see him. It didn't even look like the Aang that they once knew. No, this Aang, he felt like someone else, like multiple people all at once, as if there were thousands upon thousands of lives all wrapped within him. They could sense that. So many life forces, and yet all they saw was one man. Aang raised his hands into the air, causing an updraft of air. Betelgeuse was swirling in the air, unable to move. The lights of the spirits shined and shimmered around Aang. In a swift motion, Aang signaled for his hand to be brought down like a slice. And in one fell swoop, Betelgeuse would be cut in half, scattering away and turning like ash to the wind. In the meantime, Aang focused his attention towards the white whale. Creature of the night, you have tormented this land long enough. I do not know what possessed you, or what evils have caused your machinations. Know that I do not take pleasure in your suffering. And now, it ends. As Aang held his hand into the air, his eyes shining as bright as the moon, a swirl of wind, of water, of earth, and of fire bellowed all around him. He would deliver a massive strike to the original whale, piercing it in place in the air. Now, end it! Wilhelm, looking to exact revenge against the white whale for all it had done, took his cue as he soared into the skies. With swords that aligned over and around his body, he sliced the whale multiple times over and over again. The whale came crashing down below as Wilhelm descended, delivering the final strike to the top of its head, the eyes of the white whale glossing back as it took its last breaths before meeting its end. The people held down the whale, a cheer echoing amongst its people. After so long, after so much fighting, the battle had now come to an end. After 400 years, the tyranny of the white whale was over. As Aang descended back down to amongst the crowded armies, the glowing of his tattoos starting to fade, Aang would fall unconscious, both Emilia and Rem grabbing and holding him at the same time, happy to see that their Aang was safe. The carcass of the whale was brought back to the capital of Lagunica, the army and the people being seen as heroes for what they had done. Aang slowly recovered and was watched over, and in the meantime the royal candidates would meet again amongst themselves to discuss terms and other matters. The camp of both Cruce as well as Emilia were credited with the defeat of the white whale, especially Emilia's champion, Aang himself. As he awoke, he would see Rem by his side, cutting open some fruit, having it ready for him when he came back to. Aang would eat as he felt as though he were starving. As he ate, Aang would learn of what had been happening while he had been unconscious. Apparently, he had been knocked out for about 3 days, more so than he was expecting. As he felt on the top of his head, he realized that his hair was starting to grow just a little bit. Although, for some reason, he wasn't really in any rush to cut it. He had never seen himself with hair for so long that he kinda almost wondered what he looked like. Plus, Rem had always asked to see him with hair just once. Even if it meant he'd shave it off and she'd never see it again, she at least wanted to have the memory of seeing what he did look like with it, and so he figured he'd honor that request just this one time. Even he wanted to see how it would turn out. Emilia would come into the room not too long after to check over the boy's healing. Thankfully, he had seemed to recover for himself pretty well off, as he learned about what was going on and the status of everyone here in the capital. Currently, things were a bit more hectic than Emilia would have hoped for. There was a situation going on to the west that required even Reinhardt's attention, so the fact that he was no longer in the capital at the moment was kind of seen as worrisome. However, they were thankful since Aang was here, and many were comparing his feats to that of Reinhardt himself, wondering if maybe he could rival him someday. Although Aang really wasn't trying to compare himself to Reinhardt or anyone else, since that wasn't really what concerned him. As he asked about the fate of the other villagers, Rem would explain that they were currently at the sanctuary. Although it had been some days, they hadn't gotten any word back from them, and she was getting a bit worried. Aang was also worried immediately, wondering if there could have been more members of the witch's cult. But he was put at ease. It seemed he had managed to strike all of them down, at least the ones that had been planning to attack the Roswald Manor. And Rem could sense if something like that was going on to her sister. So that wasn't the issue, it was just a matter of not receiving any word up until now. If things didn't change in due time, then they'd make their way back, to check and make sure that things were on the up and up, because their stay would only be temporary before they headed back to the village anyhow. In the meantime, they could relax and take a break. After everything they had been through in the last 4 days, rest was definitely warranted. As Aang overlooked the capital at night, he wondered. He wondered about his life. After everything he had done, he wondered if he was still the same person. But he knew he wasn't. There was another part of him that questioned whether or not he should still try to return home. If it was true that there was already another Avatar, then was there any real need for him? He couldn't think that way. At the very least, he had to try. He took some time to himself, finding a quiet place. As he closed his eyes, he meditated as deeply as he could. Eventually, he appeared. "It is good to see you, Aang." "Roku, I didn't know if it was gonna work. I thought..." "No. Even still, you are the Avatar. You are connected to us as we are to you. I can sense that there is much that troubles you at the moment. There is. This might be crazy, but do you think it might be possible to get me in touch?" "With who?" "With the current Avatar, the one that's come after me." "I see. I never thought I could connect the both of you together. Even though you currently exist in separate worlds, it's at the same time." "I understand that. If possible, I want to speak to this Avatar to know what's been going on. Please, can you tell me, Roku?" "Let's see. I think I can send a signal. Although whether or not she responds, that's a different story." Aang would wait patiently as he would begin to make first contact with his home world. In the meantime, at the site of Fugel's tree, two individuals stood together side by side. A tall, slim figure with short, cut white hair, dressed in white robe with trims of gold and of fine purple. The other, a short and stocky individual who was dressed in a dark brown cloak with shaggy dark hair that covered his face, his arms connected with two blades. The Sin Archbishop of Gluttony, Lai Batanetos, and the Sin Archbishop of Greed, Regulus Corneus. "Well, Gluttony, it seems it's true given the reports. Someone's taken out our pet." "Just who would have the audacity to do so? Whoever it is, it's the same one that took out that pathetic sloth. Honestly, on that note, I say good riddance and congratulations. I hate him. He just went on and on. He was way too obsessed." "But he was entertaining." "I can sense that they took the carcass of our precious compadre to the capital." "So, the capital people are the ones responsible, are they?" "Yes. I believe they've become rather full of themselves, if they actually have the audacity to strike against one of our own." "Shall we pay them a visit?" "I believe a visit is in order, at least until we get to the bottom of things. I want to know who killed the white whale." With that, the two Sin Archbishops would begin their journey, making their way to the capital of Lagunica. This concludes ReZero Avatar Lost. What if Aang was in ReZero, Season 1, Part 6, the Season 1 finale. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Naruto DxD Rise of the Dragons. What if Naruto was in high school DxD? Season 2, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.